Up-to-date news regarding the Niagara IceDogs.
Perlini! Overtime! IceDogs win! They score! Verhaeghe was also jamming away. It's a power play goal for the IceDogs. And they score! Haoxi Wang, first goal as an IceDog. Strome stops Shipley. Richie scores! Gets it to Akil Thomas. Thomas has the angle coming in. He scores!
Welcome into another Niagara IceDogs game recap right here on the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of your Niagara IceDogs. Proudly brought to you by Global Pet Foods, where pets are undeniably part of the family, and there are three great Niagara region locations in Scott Street and St. Catharines, Fawn Hill, and Niagara Falls. Thank you to everybody that's tuned in live on our Armchair GM Sports Network YouTube channel. Make sure to hit like, hit subscribe, smash that bell, comment your thoughts on the game while we're doing the live post-game show. And thank you to those listening the next day on your favorite on-demand audio platform. Make sure you give us a follow also on X at Dog Pound Podcast for all of our IceDogs content, as well as on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok by searching the Armchair GM Sports Network. Brandon Caputo with you to break down the IceDogs 4-3 overtime victory against the top-seeded Brantford Bulldogs here on a Sunday afternoon at the Meridian Centre in front of 3,728. Pleased to welcome on special guest co-host tonight. That would be Reece Doumani from the Dawgcast on the Bulldogs Audio Network. Reece, thanks a lot for staying with us to jump on the post game and break this one down. I know you've got some ties with both teams here, with the Bulldogs now, obviously, with the IceDogs and previously. So it's always probably fun for you to be able to come to this canine matchup.
Yeah, always a ton of fun. From 2016 to 19, the Bulldogs were very much the enemy, especially in the 2018 second round of the playoffs when the Bulldogs beat us in 5 and went on to win a championship. But, you go where the money is, technically, in that situation. Moving to work for TSN 1150 to cover the Bulldogs on a regular basis. So, I love this building. It's been really too bad that it hasn't been full, often over the last number of years, because it can get rocking when there's 5,300 in it. So, 3,200 in Brantford's loud, but I know what 5,300 can be like here at the Meridian Centre. So, always fun coming back, albeit in enemy colors this time.
Yeah, for sure. We'll break it all down for you guys. We'll get the game stats, the scoring summary. We'll hear from IceDogs head coach Krys Barch with his post-game thoughts, as well as Haoxi Wang, the San Jose Sharks' second-round pick, recently acquired from the Oshawa Generals, his first home game here at the Meridian Centre. We'll hear from him as well, and we'll hear Reece's player of the game later on tonight as well. So, Reece, as far as from the IceDogs' perspective, I know the trade deadline was sort of a mix. They acquired some guys, they moved some guys out. Krys Barch's team right now, sitting sixth in the conference. They're right there with the Peterboroughs and the North Bays of the world, trying to find that playoff seeding there. I know you want to avoid Brantford, even though the result was good for them tonight. But if you're in that middle of that conference, you're going to be facing teams like Ottawa, Peterborough, North Bay, and possibly Kingston to a lesser extent, but or even Barrie, at the second place in the conference. So when you look at the IceDogs' outlook here for the second half, like how, especially coming off a tough loss in Peterborough where they only lost 1-0, it was a well-fought game. What's your outlook for this team going into the playoff push?
I don't want to say there's a huge sense of urgency to pick up points quickly, because there is a little bit of a gap. I wouldn't say it's big. It's nice that the IceDogs got a little bit of help. Flint Firebirds coming back down 3-0 to beat the North Bay Battalion 6-3. So with the IceDogs win, that actually pulls them within 4 points of the Battalion, and then the Petes are on their way to a loss in Ottawa. So you gain a little bit of ground there. But again, I'm not sure it's necessarily a must-get home ice for the Niagara IceDogs. Again, I think it's just a team that's got to get it in the playoffs, and has to get healthy. If Patterson's in the lineup, we might not even go to overtime here. It might be an IceDogs regulation win, just based off of the fact the way I thought the Bulldogs started the game. They were way better in the second half, which we'll get to in a second. But if Patterson's in the lineup and you get some playoff experience with that. And you know, again, you're just looking for a hard-fought series, right? I'm not going to say whether the IceDogs are going to win the playoff series or lose in round number 1, but I think for them, you're still looking to just get in the playoffs, get that experience for your young-ish guys. I know Zada, Robrick are kind of veterans now, but you want to get Edgar into the playoffs, right, and get him the experience. So, you know, I think for the IceDogs, it's not crucial that you get home ice, but you'd love to have a strong finish. And, you know, they made moves that made them better for the future, but also moves that got them better right now. And I'm going to look at Chromiak as that big one where we're going to get better now by acquiring this guy, because you desperately needed a guy on the back end to run your power play up top. And, you know, you got two guys in Wang and Chromiak, right? That's your 1-2 punch, power play 1 quarterback, power play 2 quarterback. So that's what I think for the IceDogs. You know, just play competitive down the stretch, right? You're trying to build back a winning culture here in St. Catharines, and you know, Frank Avila has done a really nice job getting that process started this year. Yeah, and as you mentioned, Patterson missing his 3rd straight game. Again, a tough play in Sudbury last weekend. Didn't play in the Sioux, didn't play in Peterborough, didn't play tonight, but Krys Barch did say he's hopeful that he plays on Thursday against the Barrie Colts in a big divisional game and against Patterson's former team. You know, he wants to be in the lineup for that one, so hopefully they'll have number 21, their leading scorer, back in the lineup. As far as the rest of the lineup goes, we had Judd Noft and Sebastian Del Elche as the other scratches. 7 defensemen tonight. Callum Shanowski checked in as the 7th D, only 11 forwards, and then Charlie Robertson got to start with Yermolenko coming off the game last night in Peterborough. What did you like anything from the way the lineup was tonight? Yeah, I think for the IceDogs, you know, when you look at the defense and how teams are defending the Bulldogs, they're very aggressive in their forecheck. They're very aggressive in the neutral zone. You know, they really like to clog it up, and we, you know, I'll take it right out of Kingston's book yesterday. We know how Troy Mann teams like to play. They just clogged up the neutral zone the entire time yesterday and gave the Bulldogs fits in their own barns. So I think for the IceDogs, you get that 7th defenseman, and yeah, you're obviously at 11 forwards up front, but I don't think that was a bad thing for the IceDogs, right? I think in this game, going up against the Bulldogs, you look who they have up front. Having an extra defenseman is not a terrible idea. You know, you can rotate that 7th guy in. Maybe someone needs a shift off just because they took a few bumps or you know, got a few bruises and maybe had an extended shift. So, no, I like it. You know, there have been shortages of players in IceDogs lineups in recent years, but I think when you look at this game and how it played out, and even going in with the Bulldogs coming, you know, into their 3rd game in 3 days, it's obviously a back-to-back for Niagara, where really it's a tough turnaround. You're in Peterborough last night, then drive home. Oh, you got to be at the rink for noon for a 2 o'clock start against the Bulldogs. So, you know, I like that they went with the extra defenseman there, and they went a little bit you know, less on the forwards with only 11. So I thought that was a good move by Krys Barch. I really liked the way he put the lineup together. Yeah, and you kind of have to try to match lines with Brantford because they've got 11 NHL drafted players. Another one going to be a high one in Malhotra. I know Banach was out for the lineup for them, but Jake O'Brien came back. So, you know, you look at 3 lines worth of NHL prospects on it. It's hard for a team like the IceDogs right now to try to line match because technically you could say they have 2 or 3 first lines, the Bulldogs. So it's a tough thing to go up against a team like that, but obviously, you know, the results spoke for themselves tonight. Yeah, exactly. And I mean, you started to see that as the 3rd period started to go on, and even really at the end of the 2nd, it's, you know, for the Bulldogs, it was unfortunate a puck ends up in the back of their net, but for the IceDogs to take a 2-goal lead into the intermission, you have to feel pretty good about yourself. But in the 3rd, just the Bulldogs' talent took over. The IceDogs got hemmed in their zone way too often, and you could see it. They were starting to get a little bit tired in their own end. They were a little bit slower to pucks than they were, say, in the 1st or even the beginning half of the 2nd period, and Bulldogs took advantage. I mean, that 3rd goal was one of the easiest goals I've ever seen. I'm sure we'll get to that in a few minutes here. But, you know, for the IceDogs, that's, again, where that 7th defenseman comes in, right? If you only dress 6 and you've still got 12 forwards, well, you know, maybe you don't even get to overtime. Just the way the Bulldogs were playing and how much pressure they were applying on the IceDogs deep in their zone. So it is tough to match up against the Bulldogs, but I think the IceDogs looked pretty good against this group. And again, this is without Patterson, right? These two teams still got to play each other 2 more times, albeit both times in Brantford, and I think both games are actually the last week of the season or last 2 weeks of the season. So, you know, a push will be on for both sides at that point. But I think for today, the IceDogs are going to gain ground in the standings. And It's obviously January 18th. Do people really care that much about standings? Not really, and not really about power rankings either. The ego rankings, Colin and I like to call them. So, that's just it's a good afternoon if you're an IceDogs fan to watch this, and despite a less than ideal third period, but still walk away with 2 points.
Yeah, it's a confidence booster after not scoring a goal in the last 2 games against Sioux and Peterborough. We'll get things further here with our game stats tonight, brought to you by J&L Flooring. If you think you get a better deal anywhere else, you don't know Jack. Contact them today at jnlflooring.com or visit their Niagara Falls location to begin your quality flooring project today. Shots on net. Bulldogs led it 33-23. They led the IceDogs led in the first period 9-6, and then it was 16-8 in favor of Brantford in the second, which is sort of, we'll talk about that in a minute, and then 11-5 in favor of Brantford in the third, and then the IceDogs with the only shot in overtime. Reece, anything that you want to mention about the shots on net tonight?
Well, the one thing that at least Colin and I wanted to see was the Bulldogs shooting more, and they did that, especially in the second period. They were way too passive yesterday against Kingston. Thought they could have been way better than they were in terms of firing the puck on net, because you look at some of these guys that can shoot the puck like Brantford can, and they weren't. They were just being way too passive. So, I thought that was better, and for the IceDogs, they did a really nice job staying at even strength, if that makes any sense, my English there. It's a power play that's not at 40% anymore like it was for the first half of the season, but you look at all the guys they have. Juracek's your quarterback. He's going to be an NHLer next year. With Luchenko, he'll be an NHLer next year. Jake O'Brien returning, he's the distributor. He'll be an NHLer probably in 2 years. I thought the IceDogs did really well, and that reflected the shots early in the game, I thought. 9-6, and then, albeit, 16-8 in the second, but if they're not dangerous shots, totals really don't mean a whole lot.
No, they don't, and it's good you mentioned the power play, because that was something I talked about on the pregame report coming in, is that the IceDogs can't take penalties against this Brantford team.
Yep.
Brantford, coming in, had the number 1 ranked power play in the OHL at a 33.1 rate, and again, it's not 40%, but it's still the best in the OHL, and the IceDogs only took 1 penalty tonight, which was very good and disciplined of Krys Barch's club there, knowing how pesky the Bulldogs can be and not really getting themselves into penalty trouble, so they were 1 for 1 on the PK tonight, and then they scored a goal on the power play as well, which is another confidence booster, because the IceDogs came in second last power play in the OHL. The only team below them is Kingston at 12.4. The IceDogs were 16.7 coming in. So the specialty teams was big for the IceDogs to be able to come away with the win, because as you can see the discrepancy between these two teams there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, only 1 power play opportunity for the Bulldogs. Yep, check mark in that category. You score a power play goal against the Bulldogs. Well, like you said, where their power play was, you'll take a check mark no matter who you scored against, right? So that was one thing the IceDogs were going to have to be really good at. Well, it was the special teams. They're going to have to control that really well. And the Bulldogs are a disciplined team. I wasn't expecting Niagara to get 4, 5, 6 opportunities on the power play. So to see it, 1 for 2 for the IceDogs and then 0 for 1 for the Bulldogs, I think again, that goes to how well the IceDogs managed the game at certain points. Again, when you look at the third period and how much time the IceDogs spent in their own zone, and they didn't take 1 penalty, right? We saw it, Brandon. We're on this end of the ice, or at this end of the ice, where the IceDogs were tired. They were slower. You tend to get your stick out a little bit further. It's, most of the time that might catch a skate. That might catch someone's jersey or get up in the hands. You might take a whack at a guy's leg. Oh, now you're getting called for slashing, right? When you get a little bit behind and tired, those stick infractions start to occur. And I think the IceDogs, despite getting hammed in their zone, still played very disciplined, still managed the game really well, and really didn't get out of position a ton, I thought. On the third goal, we'll go over that, which, again, I thought was one of the easiest goals I've ever seen scored. But other than that, I thought they managed the game really well and stayed out of the box.
28-28 on the faceoff dot. We had a tie. I know the last time Brantford was here, there was some controversy
that was horrendous
on sort of the faceoff wins discrepancy there. But Jake O'Brien was back in the lineup today, and he won more than 2, according to whatever they had posted last game.
Yeah, we're not going to get into that.
The IceDogs side of things, Ivan Galyanov was the best for the IceDogs tonight. 10 of 15. Ryerson Edgar 8 of 13, which is really nice to see for their 16-year-old. Ethan Zada, not his best night for usually their best faceoff guy. 5 of 16. Hayden Reed was 3 of 10. And then as well, you have a guy like Riley Patterson out of the lineup. He's one of your go-to guys at the center ice position. So the IceDogs, you knew that they had to have a good day in the dot. You don't want to give the Bulldogs, that offensive zone time, because we saw when they have sustained zone pressure what can happen. So for the IceDogs, being able to get the puck out at times tonight, there were times where they couldn't get it out, and it led to some tough
led to
scoring
goal
chances.
number 2.
Exactly.
Yep.
But on the face-off dot, I think you got to be pretty pleased with that.
I think so. When you play a top team, and whether it was Brantford, whether it was Ottawa in here today, whether it was Barrie, or in the West, Kitchener, Flint, Windsor, whatever the case might be, you want to start with the puck. You don't want to be chasing the game. First half, I thought the IceDogs controlled the pace of play. Again, I thought the Bulldogs had a ton of opportunities to shoot. They didn't, and that obviously favored the IceDogs, because you could have had some really high percentage scoring chances if you put the puck on net. But yeah, I think it's a win for the IceDogs for sure.
Yeah, and then we'll get forward with our scoring summary tonight, brought to you by the Niagara Employment Help Center, by the Niagara Employment Help Center, helping people find work in the Niagara region since 1983. Check out their up-to-date job board at ehc.on.ca to find your next work opportunity today. Ethan Zada opened the scoring in the second. He had 2 chances in the first, 2 breakaways in the first period. Ryerson Leader stayed with him on both of them. And the IceDogs, as I wrote down here, had about 4 scoring chances in the first period. They couldn't score on any of them. It was 0-0 after the first period, but the IceDogs had a lot of momentum. Again, as you mentioned, maybe those tired legs from for the Bulldogs side of things in the 3-3, but the IceDogs didn't have the bus legs coming back from last night's game in Peterborough, at least early. And again, for Ethan Zada, that was really his 3rd opportunity of the game, and he's able to take the pass from Simon Wang, who barely kept the puck in at the line. They looked at it for a little bit, but deemed that it was still onside, and he goes backhand forehand on Ryerson Leanders after the power play was awarded to the IceDogs. I know maybe people can say if that was a penalty or not, but the IceDogs took advantage of it.
They did. When the other team hands you an opportunity, you got to take advantage. And yeah, for the IceDogs captain, it's like, oh, he finally potted one, right? And that's not a knock or anything. That's just, like you said, he had 2 opportunities in the first period where he could have buried one and put his team ahead going into the first intermission. It just didn't happen. But he gets rewarded here on the power play by being in a good spot. And again, that's why you go out and get Haoxi Wang, a guy that can move the puck from the blue line, both out of his own end in the offensive zone. He can find guys very easily. He's got great vision with the puck, and it worked out there.
The IceDogs would extend the lead, and this was a feel-good story because the IceDogs, or the Bulldogs, I'm going to say that a lot today.
We're both tripping on that, eh?
Oh, my gosh. Anyway, so the Bulldogs missed a one-timer chance. They actually had 2 of them that back-to-back weren't able to capitalize on
Dennis.
it. Yeah. Again, that was a tough one there, but the Bulldogs weren't able to capitalize. And coming down the left wings, Chase Hall comes down, goes over top of Ryerson Leanders, just skating down that left wing. Really nice shot for his 9th goal of the season, but his first goal as a Niagara IceDog. Really needed that for his confidence, because since coming over from the Flint Firebirds in that Kevin He trade, they've been expecting a little bit more from him offensively, and just hasn't been able to find it. So for him, I know that was a big confidence booster and a big goal at the time to put the IceDogs up 2-0.
That was a really nice shot. Yeah, right off the rush. You sometimes like for guys to shoot in stride. It maybe throws off the goaltender a little bit more. But for this shot, Hall to go far side on Leanders. He went down a little bit early. He found the right spot on the glove side of the Bulldogs goaltender. And if it's half an inch off, that's deflected elsewhere, whether it be still in play, whether it be in the netting, because it barely entered the net. It hit the post, and then it hit just the inside of the netting, and it was a perfectly placed shot, like you said, off the wing on the left side, and couldn't have done it any better. It was a rocket.
It was. So that gave the IceDogs a 2-0 lead. And then battling back was Parker Holmes burying it in the slot on the rebound. Gabe Frasca and Jeremy Freeman get the assists on that one at 15:55 of the second. So just a few minutes after Chase Hall had made it 2-0, the Bulldogs get their first goal of the game. It took them 35 minutes to do so, but they finally got on the board. And as the game went on, the Bulldogs started to sort of see and pick up their legs a little bit.
Yeah, they did. When let's say you're pulling an all-nighter or you're pulling a double at work, you usually get a second win sometime during the second half of your shift. And for the Bulldogs on the latter half of a 3-3, they really started to push the pace a little bit more as this game went on, towards the end of the second period. And even you had mentioned it talking with the voice of the Bulldogs, Reed Duthie, that that second period much better for the Bulldogs. They looked more normal than they had in the first 30 minutes of the hockey game, and Holmes just gets rewarded. Talking to him after the game on Friday, just his confidence is growing so much. A guy that really struggled early on with no points and wasn't really producing after getting drafted by the Blackhawks, and he's really starting to come alive for Brantford. And at that time, the Bulldogs were really pressing. They knew they'd love to get one, cut the lead in half going into the room at least, and they got it there at that time. Holmes, it's a dirty goal for Parker Holmes, but he does not care. He'll take it out in front.
The IceDogs would lead it they extended the lead late in the second period. Ryan Robrick at the 19:27 mark, and this one just kind of caught everybody off guard. He just kind of took the puck in the middle of the ice and shot it over top of Ryerson Leenders for his now team-leading 23rd goal of the season with Riley Patterson out of the lineup. So for the IceDogs to get up 3-1 right near the end of the second period and kind of stun the Bulldogs after they had thought that they were really trying to change the momentum in this game.
A little bit of a defensive miscue for Cam Hankai on that, and Ryan Robrick is the recipient of it. It was a shot that maybe you'd like to have stopped by Leenders, but again, I think Hankai, if he's just a little bit more simpler with the puck, it's out of the zone and it's 2-1 after 2. But again, you get the opportunities and you have to capitalize on them, and the IceDogs did that. And Ryan Robrick without Patterson in the lineup, him and Zad are the two guys you don't want to have alone in the slot with the puck because they can really rip it. And yeah, it was a clean shot past Leenders.
IceDogs lead at 3-1, and then we saw the Bulldogs train start to get going here midway through that third period as Jake O'Brien scoring the goal to cut it to 3-2 after the IceDogs had a really hard time trying to get the puck out of their zone. There were a couple times Ray Smith had an opportunity, Jakub Kromiak had an opportunity to get that puck out, and they just couldn't. They were just scrambling within their zone, and the Bulldogs, really had a lot of sustained zone pressure there with a tired IceDogs group out there trying to defend, and it was just a play that Jake O'Brien, is going to make no mistake on in his return.
Yep. Yeah, it was the IceDogs had to clear that puck. It was either going to be a penalty or there was going to be a goal against, and that was one of those shifts where the IceDogs were just gassed. They had no energy left, and the best option would have been an icing because at least they can slowly make their way to the face-off circle and try and buy themselves a little bit of time. But they were just way behind the 8 ball the entire shift, and unfortunately, again, the puck ends up in the back of their net. The Bulldogs showing off their skill in the offensive zone, and that was a big one for Jake O'Brien. You could see how emphatic the celebration was to the near side to a few of his teammates, and that's a big goal for the captain in his first game back.
The 14:20 mark of the third, the Bulldogs in the last 10 minutes of this game, I thought, really controlled the pressure, and the IceDogs were really reeling. I thought that the IceDogs almost got lucky to come away with 1 point with the way that the Bulldogs sort of pressed in that final 10 minutes. It was definitely an interesting end of this game after what you thought the IceDogs, it's going to be a nice 2 points, and then all of a sudden the Bulldogs almost end up not allowing them to get a single point, and that's the type of team that they have. Cooper Dennis makes no mistake after those first couple of misses he had earlier in the game from Eric Van Acker and Adam Juracek to get that game evened up with his 24th of the season, and it just seemed like, and Charlie Robertson, I must say, really kept him in this game because he stopped 30 of 33 in the end. But it seemed like in that they were just really trying to pepper Charlie Robertson with shots in that last 10 minutes, and he was scrambling, doing all he can with the tired IceDogs defenders around him. But the Bulldogs were able to get it tied. Yeah,
it was, and it's funny how this play worked out because Juracek is he stopped skating. He started gliding back to get the puck in his own zone. You know, the Bulldogs bench looking for an icing call. Linesman, you know, recognizing that YourTV stopped skating. He started gliding, expecting that puck to easily go down and have icing called. But, you know, then it worked out for the Bulldogs because he immediately threw it up the ice and joined the rush. You know, he was a huge part of it, obviously, with the secondary assist after Van Acker. But that was one of the easiest zone entries I've ever seen. And that's why I think that was one of the easiest goals ever. The Bulldogs just skated past the IceDogs, who just were standing at the side of the road watching them go by. And you know, it's a wide open shot for Dennis. No chance. Doesn't matter what goaltender's in the net. He ain't stopping that. And that's where I thought the Bulldogs, like you said, the IceDogs might not even get a point after leading by 2 goals after 2 periods. And just the way the Bulldogs were playing, how easy that zone entry was, it just looked like the IceDogs were gassed and they had no answer for a really good Bulldogs team because, you know, and Cooper Dennis gets rewarded. Like I said, doesn't matter who's in net. Robertson ain't stopping that. Martin Brodeur's not stopping that. Terry Sawchuk's not stopping that. It's a goal every time, and unfortunately for the IceDogs, I think it was a little too easy for the Bulldogs.
And that's a learning experience, right? Like the poise that you need late in those games against those teams like that are going to be pressing, you know, all, you know, hands on deck against a team that has 11 NHL drafted players on it. Like that those are the types of situations you're going to have to go through in deep playoff runs and things like that. So I think that was a good, you know, measuring stick for the IceDogs as far as what it's going to take to be able to close a team out, because you could say the IceDogs maybe could have won this game by two or so goals at the way the first half went, but
also had 2 posts in the first half of the game too, right?
So it's, you know, you let the Bulldogs hang around like that. They're a good enough team. They're going to find a way to battle back. But it goes into overtime, so the IceDogs do earn that point, which I think coming in they would have been probably pleased with against the Bulldogs team. But you want the extra point, and they're able to get it. 13 seconds into 3-on-3 overtime, Ryan Robrick snaps his second goal of the game, team leading 24th of the year from Haoxi Wang and Ryerson Edgar. And a very odd stat for me that Reed Duthie was bringing up, that the Bulldogs, they don't have the best record in 3-on-3 overtime.
They suck in overtime. Yeah, they suck. I know that's pretty blunt, but you know, they went a long time without a regulation loss. But you know, bad part about that was they were losing quite a bit beyond regulation. Again, you get a point, it's still a victory. Well, it's like, no, it's not, because you didn't get 2 points. But I don't know what it is about 3-on-3. You know, you want to win that face-off immediately, and that's still one thing that I think Jake O'Brien's game has to develop, is just being a little bit better on the face-offs. But he doesn't win it, so good on the IceDogs for immediately getting on the puck and off of that face-off, immediately attacking the offensive zone and going up against YourTV. It's not easy, so you try and get to the net. YourTV closes his man off, and then Robrick, I don't know how he found a hole. Leander still doesn't know how he found a hole, but Robrick comes out from the goal line just inside that left circle and sneaks it by the goaltender. And, you know, it took 13 seconds. Bulldogs didn't even possess it. You know, kind of felt like, sorry, Bills fans, it kind of felt like Josh Allen a few years ago against the Kansas City Chiefs, where they didn't even possess the puck. Same as the Bills. They didn't possess the ball, and they lost, you know, which is unfortunate. Hockey, obviously, way different than football. But I thought the IceDogs, you know, why not attack? Just go right at them. See what happens, and put the puck on net. You never know what's going to happen, and that's what Robrick did. He found a hole somewhere and got his team the extra point.
He was the first star tonight. 2 goals for the draft-eligible forward. Charlie Robertson was second star, stopping 30 of 33. And Merrick Van Acker, the Bulldogs forward, Chicago Blackhawks prospect, and the leading goal scorer in the OHL, but 2 assists for him tonight. So he was named third star in the building. Haoxi Wang had 2 assists for the IceDogs as well in this game. So we're going to take a quick commercial break. We're going to come back. We're going to hear from IceDogs head coach Krys Barch and Haoxi Wang, defenseman for the IceDogs, with their post-game thoughts and Reece's player of the game. So stay right here. We're right back on the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of your Niagara IceDogs, proudly brought to you by Global Pet Foods, where pets are undeniably part of the family in their 3 great Niagara region locations. Back after this.
Did you know that the Global Pet Food stores in the Niagara region are all independently owned by members of the local community? We believe that pets are truly part of the family and are a source of joy in everyday homes around the world. Yet that living, loving experience usually doesn't happen all on its own, but takes extra effort to create and maintain. And we want you to know that the owners and staff at Global Pet Foods are always there to help you keep it going any way we can, because we believe proud show sponsor of the Dog Pound podcast, the official podcast of the Niagara IceDogs. We hope to see you at one of the following locations across Niagara: 3643 Portage Road in Niagara Falls, 160 Highway 20 in Font Hill, as well as 400 Scott Street and 344 Glendale Avenue in St. Catharines. Global Pet Foods, where pets are undeniably part of the family.
Since 1999, Niagara Denture Clinic has been helping thousands of patients achieve natural-looking smiles with the confidence to show them off. Sean Battelle and his wife Anne, both licensed denturists, bring a wealth of skill and experience to the warm and friendly atmosphere to their Niagara Falls location at 5501 Drummond Road. And their on-site Niagara Hearing Clinic offers free hearing tests and a variety of services to fit your needs. This family-run practice takes pride in providing superior care and service to their patients, along with the best premium products available on the market. Get the best work done at a more reasonable price. Niagara Denture Clinic is here to help. Protect your teeth with a mouth guard, replace missing teeth, and get better hold with your dental implants. Call them today for a free consultation at 905-353-1552 or check them out online at niagaradentureclinic.com. Niagara Denture Clinic, creating natural smiles in the Niagara region for 25 years.
Are you currently looking for work in the Niagara region? If so, you owe it to yourself to check out the services provided by the Niagara Employment Help Center, located at 6100 Thorold Stone Road in Niagara Falls. Their many free services include a fully staffed resource area open to the public, resume and cover letter writing, local labor market information, job search strategies, assistance with clarifying employment, training, and career goals, employment counseling and job search support, and Better Jobs Ontario information and registration assistance. Check out their website at ehc.on.ca or call 905-358-0021 for more information. The Niagara Employment Help Center, helping people find work since 1983.
This Employment Ontario program is funded by the Government of Ontario. Wild Bill's Auto Repair is your local center for auto maintenance and repair in the Niagara region. Since 2012, Wild Bill's Auto Repair and Body Shop has been helping customers stay safe and confident on the road, knowing their vehicles in top running condition through their services. Located at 7868 Oakwood Drive in Niagara Falls, the garage started as a tribute to the owner's father, William Robert Hunter, who passed away, continuing the same community spirit and high level of service which customers came to expect from him back at Hunter's Auto Repair. Their multi-award-winning auto shop has earned the trust of the Niagara community with its fair treatment of all customers, who can feel confident they'll get the trustworthy advice and repairs during their visit. Their experienced crew loves meeting new people and looks forward to forming a lasting partnership for the care of your cars. To find out more or to book service, contact them today. 905-358-7868 or wildbillsauto.ca. Wild Bill's Auto Repair, helping customers stay safe and confident on the road since 2012.
Hey, it's Ryan Rober.
This is Ivan Galliano.
This is Noah Reed.
This is Ryerson Edgar.
Hey, this is Riley Patterson.
Hey, this is Ethan Zader. And this is the
Dog Pound Podcast,
the official podcast of the Niagara IceDogs.
Welcome back to part 2 of today's Dog Pound Podcast game recap right here on the Armchair GM Sports Network. The IceDogs win it 4-3 over the Brantford Bulldogs on a Sunday afternoon at the Meridian Centre in front of 3,728. Brandon Caputo and guest co-host Reece Doumani of the Dawgcast on the Bulldogs Audio Network continuing to break it all down for you guys here today. And before we get any further, the IceDogs have a home victory, so you know what that means. Yes, thank you to that dog for barking for our promo for the Global Pet Foods free dog treat. So if you're listening to this on Monday, you can go in and get your furry pup a free dog treat courtesy of this IceDogs.
What kind of dog was that?
I have no idea. You scared me for a minute. I thought like the recording was stopped or something.
No.
But regardless, you can go into any of the 3 great Global Pet Foods locations in the Niagara region: Scott Street in St. Catharines, Portage Road in Niagara Falls, and Highway 20 in Font Hill. And you get your dog a free dog treat courtesy of the IceDogs win and of the Dog Pound Podcast. So that is Monday, January 19th. For you guys listening, if it's too late, you'll have to wait for the next IceDogs home victory. So if you're watching us live, on the Sunday. You can go tomorrow. If you're listening to this on Monday, go there today and get yourself a free dog treat for your pup. So great promotion from our great show sponsor of the Dog Pound podcast in Global Pet Foods Niagara. So with that said, Reece, I mean, when you look at the outlook here, for this IceDogs team, really quick before we get to IceDogs head coach Krys Barch on the Wild Bills Auto Repair postgame, you've got another tough 3 games this upcoming weekend, and we know the IceDogs had a lighter schedule than some of the other teams in the first half of the season, so you knew that they were going to have a lot of games where they were playing 3 nights and 4 days and things like that, so they got another one coming up here. They got Barrie on Thursday. Huge game within the division against the Central Division leaders, and then you're in Owen Sound on Saturday night, and then you got to come back again, just like you did this weekend, to play the Brampton Steelheads on a Sunday afternoon. So another Saturday, Sunday where you're on the road, and then you got to come back for an early game on Sunday. So the road doesn't get any tougher for the IceDogs as far as travel goes and the opponents.
Yeah, I'd say it's also worse being in Owen Sound. Every back road in southwestern Ontario, I guess Owen Sound's not really south, but every back road in Ontario, it seems like to get to Owen Sound compared to Peterborough, where really you just hop on the highway and you're good to go. But yeah, it's going to be tough, right? Those are 3 opponents that are all at different stages in their organization. You look at Thursday with the Barrie Colts, division rival. Obviously, for the players that were here last year, not huge fans of the way the first round went. So you add that to it also. You know, Marty Williamson went out and made some additions, and you know, they bought, but not hard. So you've got them, and then Owen Sound, where they had a hot start to the year. They were leading the division and the conference at one point, but they've come back down to earth. You know, no more Carter George, so it'll either be Kaprowski or Bennett. And again, the Bayshore is always fun. You know, I say that sarcastically and a little bit literally, because you can have some fun this year with Owen Sound, not being a huge, strong contender in the Western Conference, but also you can life can be hell inside the Bayshore. Unless you've got fries next to you, then you'll be okay.
It's the only reason to make
only reason to go to Owen Sound is just for the fries, not even to watch the hockey game. No, but it's
and to see Greg Cowan, but
Greg Cowan, absolutely,
and Mark McKelvey.
Yeah, Greg Nog Cowan, as he's known by during the holidays, and
he's just loose on Twitter. I love it.
Oh, it's unreal. I love it. But and then what? You've got Brampton for like the 15th time this year, it seems like.
Yeah.
So it's a tough weekend. You got 2 division rivals and 1 cross conference game, and it's never easy to play Western Conference teams. So it's a very, very tough weekend. And like you said, you kind of expected those coming up the way the first half went for the IceDogs.
Yeah, for sure. 2 teams within the Central Division coming up as well. One of our listeners chimed in. He wishes they could take care of block shots to show us block shots, because he said the IceDogs.
I would love that.
He thought that, like, we knew Chanowski had a couple of them. Grayson Tiller had a couple. Ethan Zada had a couple. So I wish they would keep track of block shots and post it for the general public and or even the media for us to be able to relay that message to the fans. But again, they just give us those quick little updates. But again, I don't think block shots is something that has to be, you know, kept close to the vest like maybe some other statistics.
Yeah, it's not what's the right word? It's not classified information. We know the teams track them. We fully know that, right? Sometimes I know the Red Wings used to do this. Their backup goaltenders had a notepad or a clipboard where they kept track of block shots, face-off wins, stuff like that, right? So it's not like it's a threat to national security by any means. So I'm with you. You know, whoever commented that, yes, agreed, preached, because I would love to see those numbers. Maybe not immediately after games, but same day would be awesome.
Or even season, you know.
Yeah, that's true. Yep.
Yeah. Yep. I think IceDogs alum Mason Howard, Hippo Howard, would have loved to have those statistics. He would have led the league by about 300. So.
Man, that dude ate everything. Everything in front of the net.
Now an assistant coach, I believe, with the St. Catharines Falcons.
Yeah.
So
shout
out to Mason Howard.
I've got
Howard
beef with them.
Yeah, I know you do.
They eliminated Brantford last year.
Yeah, I know you do.
Yeah.
So with that said, we're going to let Reece vent on that, and we'll get to IceDogs head coach Krys Barch on the Wild Bills Auto Repair postgame, brought to you by Wild Bills Auto Repair, helping customers stay safe and confident on the road in Niagara since 2012 in honor of the late William Robert Hunter. Here's what IceDogs head coach Krys Barch had to say about his team's 4-3 bounce-back victory against the top-seeded Brantford Bulldogs. Back in the post game with IceDogs head coach Krys Barch. Coach, got to be pretty pleased, obviously, with the result there. I know that last 10 minutes, Brantford was really, applying the pressure there to get that game tied. You guys weathered the storm, and then the big goal in overtime. How would you assess the team's performance tonight?
Yeah, you know what? Yes, playing Brantford, we know where they are. We know the names that they have, and for our group, again, we approach every game as an individual game. Prepare. The same for each and every opponent. So for us, a great first period. I thought we really pushed play through the second. We knew that a pushback was coming in the third. And again, for us, it's that growth perspective of, maybe 25, 30 games ago, we didn't have the 2 points in our column, and now we understand and we seal that tie and push it to overtime, obtain that one, a guaranteed one, which is huge where we are in the standings and who we're competing against. And then a great shot by Ryan Roberk in overtime to seal that second component. So
you had a lot of chances in that first period. They just didn't go. What was the message after the first period to adjust and say, hey, keep playing this game, because you obviously scored some goals in the second period, but when you don't necessarily get the results, like how do you get the guys just realizing that to keep going there?
Stick with the process, and they know it. It's not something that we have to tell them. They've, as a collective group, understand what it takes to put in, what it takes to invest, and what's needed for a return on your investment. So for us, they knew, and us just as a coaching staff knew that eventually the tide would turn and puck would go in the net, and we build momentum from there.
I know Chase has been here for a couple weeks now, but for him to get that goal, how big do you think that was for his confidence? And a guy that's been, fighting it a little bit since coming over here from Flint, and then getting the result tonight with a nice goal and getting you guys that 3 goal lead there. What did you see there, and how much do you think he's sort of improving now, being here in the system?
Great kid, and it was a nice reward for him. He's put a lot of effort in since he's been here. Always tough for a new player coming from an organization. Finding his way, finding relationships, growing those relationships, working within the culture, and he's been a great addition, positive, comes to work, motivated, has a plan, and really, executes that plan, day to day. So it's nice to see him be rewarded.
Another newer player, Wang, what have you thought of him since coming over, and how do you think he's adjusting as well? And it brings a lot of different components to this lineup.
Yeah, both Chromiak and Wang, 2D additions, have been a real nice support system, a real nice stimulus for our young group to learn from. Wang, yeah, big body, very mobile. You can see why San Jose stepped up to grab him. Really efficient and high IQ on the offensive side of the puck. The ability to move pucks, the ability to transport pucks through and out of our D zone and through our neutral zone. And again, utilizing his size. Wins a puck battle down low. Ryan benefits from it and finds an open spot the way he does. And again, just kudos to the entire group. I look at Frank and what he was doing with respect to changing culture here and implementing the idea and vision that we had, and Wang and Chromiak have really fit into that model.
And then lastly, after no goals in the last 2 games against Sioux, and obviously in last night against Peterborough, hard-fought 1-0 loss without Patterson, how big was this confidence boosting for the group, given all the circumstances, the team you're playing against, without your top-end scorer, and bouncing back after 2 games?
I think we weren't happy with the process in game versus Sioux. We were extremely happy with our game last night in Peterborough. We knew that 1-goal game that could have gone either way. We really pushed in third, very much like we saw Brantford do to us this evening.
Yeah.
But we knew that eventually, the production and the reward from the correct process was going to be there at the end. So,
thanks, Coach.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks.
There was IceDogs head coach Krys Barch on the Wild Bills auto repair postgame. Reece, sounds like he talked about just the process playing out the way that they wanted to. Obviously, you knew that Brantford was going to push late in that third period. They bend but don't break, and just knowing that trusting the process, and maybe a game that 2 months ago they wouldn't have come away with the 2 points.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that shows the growth in Niagara and kind of what you guys are pushing for right now, right? I said earlier on that it's not make or break that you've got home ice in round 1, but if you can get it, that's obviously a luxury. So, you're within striking distance now. You can get very, very comfortable with a 2-goal lead, no matter what opponent you're playing, especially with those late goals in periods. It's usually if you score within the last 2 minutes or even within the first 2 minutes of a period, it could be a dagger for the opposition, and you could take that and be like, oh yeah, feeling comfortable, leaning back and hanging out, but and not to say that the IceDogs did. Obviously, the Bulldogs were with a way better team in the third period. IceDogs just looked tired. Not that they were sitting back by any means, but I think when you trust what a guy's preaching and you understand that you have to go about playing with a lead a certain way and not getting out of position just because you want to make it a 3-goal lead now. I thought that was huge for the IceDogs, and Krys Barch, obviously the message has gotten through pretty easily, and they've been pretty successful. At least they were successful today, and I shouldn't say keeping the lead, but keeping the confidence up and into overtime to win it so quickly.
And you mentioned those 2 acquisitions in the back end with Chromiak and Wang, just the minutes they eat up, right?
Yep.
In offensive and defensive. We talked about the power play, what they add to that group, but also the defensive side of the game. And I think that's something that Haoxi Wang, and the San Jose Sharks want to hone in on, is making sure that he has that all-around complete game. With the size of him, he could be a very good player at the National Hockey League level if he's able to round out all those fine details. So he mentioned his overage defenseman back there in Chromiak and Haoxi Wang, the 2 big additions from the deadline.
Yeah, and I know we're going to hear from Wang in a few moments here, but the modern-day defenseman, and I totally disagree with this, somebody who grew up watching Nick Lidstrom, albeit he did get 1,000 points in his career, but also it was still defense first, right? And I think that's the big thing for Wang, especially Chromiak, too, being an overager and playing on the teams that he did. He's got a lot of knowledge to pass on, but when you look at Wang and what San Jose is looking for him to develop, it's not only his game in the defensive zone, but obviously on the power play and maybe jumping up into the play and deep in the offensive zone as well. So the modern day defenseman doesn't just defend; they chip in offensively more often than not. At the end of the day, people say they don't look at it. I think that's a load of crap. But the Norris Trophy is definitely based off of points to a certain extent. So that's what they're trying to shape in Wang, and they've obviously got a stud right there who's going to be really good at one day in Sam Dickinson, just trying to create a complete player, not one that just defends, not one that just looks to chip in for offense and maybe cheat up in the play, but the complete package. And I think he's a nice complement with Chromiak to have those 2 guys on your team. And like I said earlier, you've got your quarterback for your power play 1, you've got your quarterback for power play 2, so that solves another issue in the whole grand scheme of things.
Let's hear from him right now on the IceDogs post-game player interview, brought to you by the Niagara Denture Clinic, creating natural smiles in the Niagara region for over 25 years. Here's the San Jose Sharks second-rounder Haoxi Wang after his first game here as a member of the IceDogs at home.
Ready?
Oh, yeah. I like the... Yep. Back in the post-game with IceDogs defenseman Haoxi Wang. Haoxi, got to be pretty pleased with that result tonight. The Brantford, tough team. You've gone up against them a lot back with your Oshawa days. How big was that to be able to pull out 2 points? And they kind of pressed there late in that third period, but you guys came away with the 2 points.
I think it's huge for us as a team. Obviously we took advantage of their 3-3. They were a little tired, but it is what it is. We got the 2 points. That's all that matters.
Yeah, talk about the process to get there. Head coach Krys Barch talks about the process. How comfortable are you feeling now within that system and within, sort of what he's looking for you out there and the coaching staff on the defensive side of things?
I mean, it's like a learning process for me, playing for Barchi, and, he played in the National Hockey League, so he know how to get there. So he's been like teaching me a lot as well, and coming in, I know a lot of guys on the team, so I kind of bonded in right away, and just never looked back.
Who are some of those guys that you already had a previous relationship with when you got in this locker room?
I think Yayanov especially. I played with him when I was 14. Really funny guy, and I was roommate with him on the road trip, and it just made me feel welcome right away.
Did you and Noah Reed have a conversation after you guys went to battle in the OHL Championship last season?
Oh yeah, it's definitely funny, but we just kind of laugh at it now.
Yeah, talk about how you think you've elevated this year in your game. Obviously, it was a big summer for you, getting drafted and everything like that. But now, how do you think you're trying to elevate yourself to show the Sharks that you're ready to take that next step?
I think just getting better every single day. Play a 200 feet game, just be reliable and defensively, and trying to create offense at the same time. Obviously, with bigger role this year, and try to step up more and try to teach the young guys how to play the game the right way.
How did it feel now getting out on the ice for a home game? Because obviously you've been here for a couple weeks, but you've been out on the road. So
yeah.
What did it feel like being out in front of that crowd? And you've played here obviously against the IceDogs with Oshawa, but what did it feel like with the crowd and obviously the Cancer Run jerseys and everything like that? It was one of the better crowds tonight of the year.
Yeah, 100%. I feel like the crowd was there for us. It was loud, it was engaging. So I'm really pleased with them.
Perfect, Haoxi. Congrats on the win and best of luck going forward.
Thank you so much.
There was IceDogs defenseman Haoxi Wang, second-round selection of the San Jose Sharks on the Niagara Dental Clinic post-game. Reece, he's a man of few words, but definitely good to have a guy like that has some experience going to the OHL Championship last year with Oshawa on that back end.
Absolutely, and I think it brings an extra element to have that team logo, name, whatever the case might be, next to your name on the score sheet. Also, he's got the SJS next to his name on the pregame notes. Brandon, you're a big San Jose guy. You'll be looking for his hockey card down the road once he's in the teal full time. But I think I really like what he said about being defensively responsible and understanding how to perfect his game in the defensive zone first, and then figure out everything at the other end. It takes a lot. These young guys, they want to score, whether they play on the back end or not. They want to score. They want to put the puck in the back of the net at the other end of the ice. But to hear him, and he's only 18. He's got a lot of years to develop his game, and it's not guaranteed he's a San Jose Shark next year. Who knows what's going to happen with Wang if he's back here, if he goes to school, like we've heard some rumblings of. We're not 100% sure where that's going to go, but to hear that he's focused on being defensively responsible and being in the right position, and then passing the same message on to the young guys, the 16, the 17-year-olds. That's really big to hear in Niagara, especially. That's kind of something that I would say has been missing from this locker room over a number of years.
Yeah, and a big body, obviously.
That helps.
If he brings 6'5" on the back end, that's never a bad thing.
It's intimidating. You skate over the blue line. That's not a guy you're excited to go up against, right? You're looking 6'5", and you're like, what are the odds I actually get past you, right? There's an intimidation factor that's part of it as well. And
that long stick that he had to be able to keep that puck in that led to the first Ethan Sada goal, right? So definitely, not like a guy like me out there at 5'7". So,
hey man, I've been 5'11" for the last 10 years. I haven't grown since grade 10.
Well, I would love to be 5'11".
Or is that 11 years? I don't know. One or the other.
We're not counting anymore.
Nope.
We're at that point
Math
in our lives.
Math is hard.
4 points in 4 games for Haoxi Wang for the Niagara IceDogs. So good start to his tenure here with the IceDogs, and again continuing to increase his minutes and his responsibility on that back end. Now that Krys Barch has kind of had him within the system in practice for a couple of weeks. So before we get out of here, we're going to put Reece on the spot with our IceDogs player of the game, brought to you by Butt Ends, the #1 grip in hockey. Use our discount code ArmchairGM to get 10% off your first order. Butt Ends, changing the game of hockey. Reece, who's going to be your player of the game for the IceDogs? I know you probably want to have one from Brantford too, but we're going to stick to the IceDogs side of things tonight.
Yeah, that's fine. I didn't think the Bulldogs played well enough in the first half of the game to give them one, but I thought they really picked it up in the second half. But Charlie Robertson's an honorable mention for me. I thought there were saves, especially, like I said, in that first half of the game where the Bulldogs weren't at their best, but they still had some quality chances. To keep it 0-0 until his team could get them up. I thought that was big for the IceDogs. Their success today is if they got the first goal, it might be a pretty good night day, I should say. It could be a pretty good day for the IceDogs. So he made some key saves early on to at least keep his team even, and then allow them to get a 1 and 2-0 lead as we got into the second. So honorable mention for him, but I think it's got to be Ryan Robrick as the top guy. it's easy to be frustrated and upset with where you're at in the rankings now, especially where you started the year. You can easily say, oh, well, I'm angry, mad. I'm going to let this frustration get the better of me. And he really hasn't done that. And for Robrick, he started to pick up his game over the last month or so to a level where we expected it to be right from the hop. And we know players go through tough stretches, but I think for Robrick, you've got so much pressure on the young kid to perform, and expect him to go high in the draft, and he's not performing, so he drops in the rankings, so that gets you frustrated a little bit. But Robrick taking advantage of a defensive miscue late in that second period. It was huge for the IceDogs to go up by a pair heading into that final frame, and then to get the OT winner. Again, he's the only guy that saw the hole. We didn't see it from here. The dude sitting in the far section in the far corner didn't see that hole. The dude right behind the net didn't see the hole. Ryerson Leanders didn't know where the hole was. Ryan Robrick was the only guy that knew where the hole was to get it past the Bulldogs goaltender. So he's my player of the game.
Yeah, 24 goals on the season, as you mentioned, working his way back up those rankings after playing better the last month and a half for this IceDogs team, and again going through that what the stretch that they had in November. Not all in him, obviously, but as a team to not win a game in November, that's a tough thing to overcome in your draft year, and just making sure that you keep your spirits up and your confidence up.
And I'm pretty sure he's 15 goals away from being number 2 all time in IceDogs history. So that's another thing to look at. He's got something to chase for, not only at the draft, obviously, but also in the IceDogs all-time goal-scoring race.
Yeah, for sure. So Ryan Robrick named player of the game in the arena, and for Reece as well. Honorable mention, Charlie Robertson getting in there after not playing in a few games. So not an easy spot for Charlie, but he came up with some big saves for the IceDogs to come away with the 2 points. The IceDogs won't face Brantford again until March 8th and March 18th, which are both, as you mentioned, going to be at the Madhouse up in Brantford. So they'll have to wait a little bit.
You're coming, right?
Oh, I'll be there.
Didn't come the first trip. Yeah, you got to get down to Brantford.
Yeah, I love coming to that place, even though it's been a house of horrors the last few years. But the IceDogs pull away with the 4-3 overtime victory here on home ice in front of 3,728. Reece, thanks a lot for being able to join us tonight on the postgame show. And go check out this week's Dawgcast on the Bulldogs Audio Network, I guess. We'll give you a little plug there. And obviously co-hosting the OHL and 60 podcast here on our network.
Yeah, I love doing this. I love coming to this barn, like I said, and always appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely. So that's going to wrap it up for our Niagara IceDogs post-game show right here on the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of your Niagara IceDogs, proudly brought to you by Global Pet Foods, where pets are undeniably part of the family. There are 3 great Niagara region locations in Scott Street and St. Catharines, Niagara Falls, and Fun Hill. Make sure on Monday, January 19th, go get your free dog treat courtesy of this IceDogs home victory. So for Reece Doumani, my name is Brandon Caputo. Thank you for listening on your favorite on-demand audio platform or live here on the Armchair GM Sports Network YouTube channel. Hit like, hit subscribe, smash that bell, stay updated with all of our content here on the network. IceDogs take it 4-3 in overtime over the Brantford Bulldogs. We'll talk to you guys again next week following another 3-game stretch for the Niagara IceDogs. We'll talk to you then.